Welcome, everybody, to Life in the Fast Lane. I am Andy Lang from WagerTalk.com, coming off of an incredible 3-0 week in betting in the NASCAR race, which brings us to 64% for the year, having an incredible year, and we're looking to get the momentum and move forward. We have two races. We got the French Grand Prix, and then we've got Pocono. Pocono always can be a tricky race to try and handicap because of the fuel mileage issues. We'll get to that here in a second. But if you guys have been enjoying all the picks, I know myself and my bankroll have, just go grab them at WagerTalk.com. By the time you see this, the pack will be up, and you'll get all plays for NASCAR and Formula One. Don't forget, in Formula One, we do practice, we do qualifying plays, and when I get to the French Grand Prix, we have some golden practice opportunities. So we'll do a best bet here at the end of the show. Let's get started with a New Hampshire recap. Martin Truex wins stages 1 and 2. Christopher Bell, the car just comes alive, and he ends up winning the race. It was just nothing too crazy happened. I had talked about the drivers going after Ross Chastain this week. They did not. So if there was a track that was going to be pretty easy for them to go after him, it would have been this one. Maybe they're waiting for the playoffs to make it sting really good. But just looking here at the Christopher Bell, Chase Elliott, Bubba Wallace, Martin Truex, and Kevin Harvick rounded out your top 5. Then you're followed up by Hamlin, Keselowski, Chastain, Suarez, and Kurt Busch. One name I want to bring up here is Bubba Wallace. He has been having trouble with pit crews and his pit stops, and they got it right this week. And look at that, finished 3rd. So I'm not saying it's his lack of consistency has all been from pit stops, but it's been well documented, and they did a good job. And you look at his stages. I mean, in stage 1 he finished 4th, stage 2 he finished 3rd, and then 3rd for the race. So that is a complete race from him from start to beginning. His driving was good, the car setup was good, and then they nailed their pit stop. So that's something to keep an eye on, because Bubba, normally he's fade material, and normally the matchups are pretty good, but I'd be interested to see who they're going to put in head-to-head matchups against Bubba Wallace, especially on some of these tracks that he does well on. So we talked about Ross Chastain. He quietly made his way up to 8th, didn't get in too much trouble, but the free bet last week was Chase Elliott over Ross Chastain, and I said you could take Chase or Denny Hamlin over Chastain, and both of them cashed. So if you were on either one of them, that was good. Truex seems to be getting better as the season goes along. I mean, winning 2 stages is awesome. I thought he was one of the drivers that didn't like the new car at the beginning of the year, but he is really, really starting to come alive. Kevin Harvick is starting to pick it up, but the guy he just isn't really a threat to win these. He's a threat for top 5s. He's just not really getting there. And I'd have to check the points, but this is just one of those years where Harvick is being consistent, but that's not how the system is set up in NASCAR. The system rewards going for it on stages and for wins. So Harvick is going to have to get a win or 2. Maybe this is a track that he can sneak out a win, but it just seems like he just doesn't quite have something that's left at the end of these races to really capture a win. So Kevin Harvick outrights are not good, but boy, I tell you, these Kevin Harvick top 10s and maybe some head-to-head matchups would be are going to be good. So we had an easy cash with Harvick over Almirola. Almirola had some shifting issues, and gear got stuck in 3rd gear, so Harvick easily cashed that one. But he was ahead of him. So I'm going to be looking at Kevin Harvick again this week in head-to-head matchups. So New Hampshire, we had rain before the race. It threw a bunch of the drivers and the teams off. I will point out we only had 7 leaders, which was interesting because they put the leader prop at 7.5, so the under comes in, and then 9 cautions. They know what they're doing, guys. They set the caution prop at 9 cautions, so the under hits on both of those just a week after having both of those go over. So let's do the Stenhouse Award. If you're new to the show, thanks for joining us. The Ricky Stenhouse Award goes to the funniest moment, the unforced error. We've got a few nominees. Cody Ware runs into Ty Dillon, who then takes out Alex Bowman, Bilicki, and McLeod all get collected up. That was early in the race. Kyle Busch, I mean, he almost single-handedly got the over caution prop. He spun multiple times. He brought out 2 cautions. If you had the over, you were looking for him to maybe spin one more time. Brad Keselowski and Austin Dillon, they get mad at each other. Nobody knows why. They hit each other during the caution. They damage each other's car, and they both have to pit, which was a little strange. Austin Cindric has a tire come off, pulling out of his pits. It goes flying down pit lane. Pretty dangerous. Those tires. I don't think people realize how heavy those tires are and how fast they're going. I mean, that is a dangerous situation when they're. But nobody got hurt, so we can laugh about it. And then Kevin Harvick hits Austin Dillon pulling out of the pits. It did not seem to damage his car too much, but yeah, he comes out, runs right into Austin Dillon. The winner is easily Brad Keselowski and Austin Dillon. The spotters have no idea why they were mad at each other. Austin Dillon goes flying off to the right into Brad. Brad goes flying off to the left, right into Austin Dillon. They both have to come in and pit. And then, Keselowski makes it up to 7th, but Austin Dillon's, his car clearly took more damage. He finishes in 23rd. So the funniest part was just that we couldn't get any explanation for it during the race. So, all right, let's talk about this week's race. It's Pocono. This is just a massive, big, and flat track. It's got an odd shape to it. It's got one of the it may be the longest straightaway in NASCAR for the season. It's got those turns where you got to come in. You're coming in really, really fast, and you got a sharp turn. The tricky thing about Pocono is weather is always an issue. I feel like every other race, Pocono, there's rain involved or something. And then 2, and you guys know this, fuel mileage. It's such a big track that they can have so many long green flag runs. Now you get these guys that's like, do we pit? Are we hoping for a caution? Do we have enough to make it to the end? We really need some yellow flag laps. So don't be surprised if you see guys get on completely different pit strategies, which does make this a little bit hard to handicap, because you can have bets on the guys with the best cars, and then all of a sudden they run out of fuel and they got to pit with 3 laps to go because they didn't get a caution. So just take this for what it is. Here's your top 5 average finishers the last 4 Pocono races. Kevin Harvick, we mentioned earlier, his average finish is 3.8. Denny Hamlin, 5.3. Kyle Larson, 5.5, although he's only raced 2 of those 4 races. Brad Keselowski, 8.3, and William Byron at 9.0. So you see, you only got a handful of drivers at average in the top 10 here. And I think the fuel mileage and the different pit strategy comes down to it. So there's a little bit of luck with this. Obviously, you want the guy with the best car, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to win here. So my best advice is don't have too many bets on this particular race. Check the weather, and if you want to wait until maybe the day of the race or right before the race, just to see if there's going to be any potential rain coming in, I think that would be a smart idea at Pocono. So I got a best bet coming up here. We're going to talk some Formula One. We're going to take a visit to the Slipstream for the French Grand Prix. I've always thought this is such a strange shaped track. There's really, really sharp turns. We've got that chicane. There's 2 DRS zones, but it's like you go flying down that way, and then you kind of come back the other way. And it's not like a big, like almost like a circle or a rectangle weaving in and out like most Formula One tracks. So it's an odd shaped one. We have lots of storylines this week, and some of them really, really affect the betting. Ferrari is fighting back against Red Bull. The last race where the Red Bulls just did not respond to cool weather. Based on what's going on in Europe, I do not think cool air will be an issue this week, as they're having really, really hot temperatures, which should help the Red Bull. This is Alpine's home track, and Alpine has really improved. You're looking at Fernando Alonso racing real good. Ocon is racing real good. So look for Alpine to have a strong and motivated race. Haas, I don't know what happened with Haas, but Mick Schumacher is hitting his stride. He's also getting some publicity. So look for Haas to keep going. They've surpassed a couple of these teams, especially Schumacher. Schumacher was the ultimate fade material in Formula One, but now seems to be worthy. Maybe we're betting on Mick Schumacher, a phrase I did not think I would use. And here's where we start to get into the betting. Okay. Mercedes is letting a rookie drive Lewis Hamilton's car in the first practice. Now, George Russell is going to be in his car. But if we see George Russell have pretty good pace in the first practice, it might be worth taking a look at fading Lewis Hamilton against George Russell in the second practice. If the second practice for Hamilton is really his first time going out, maybe Russell has the advantage and can rip off a few faster laps as Hamilton is kind of just getting used to the car a little bit. So keep an eye on these teams that let rookies drive the car in the first practice. And then second, AlphaTauri is bringing big updates this weekend. That's what they've said, big updates. And they're very excited, especially Pierre Gasly. Read an interview with him, and he legit is just could not be more excited for this race. So maybe it's worth, if you want to roll the dice and see if you can get Pierre Gasly in a bet before practice starts. But if these updates really are this significant and they have a really good practice, you're not going to get the same odds, obviously. So AlphaTauri and Mercedes we're going to be looking at pretty hard. I would expect Ferrari and Red Bull again to be running up there, up near the top. And then I still don't know what's going on with Lance Stroll and Sebastian Vettel. It just seems like their cars are getting worse. So it seems like Haas is kind of, maybe passing them. And then with, Pierre Gasly looking good, might be a good opportunity to fade Stroll or Verstappen. That's some stuff I'll be looking at. But as always, all those Formula One plays can be found on WagerTalk.com. We're hitting 64%. This year, all the plays this week from NASCAR and Formula One will be in the same pack, and it's half price. That's the beautiful thing about July. We're running half price. So go ahead and take advantage of that. Let's do the free bet. We're going back to NASCAR. I bet against him last week, and he cashed, and I'm going to bet on him this week. I'm going to take Ross Chastain over William Byron. I have not been impressed with William Byron, and I thought Chastain drove a very patient and cautious race. It felt like he was expecting somebody to get into him, as was I, but he didn't. And fact is, he finished 8th, which was good because his car was pretty trash at the beginning of the race. He really couldn't do much with it. So I just think I get the guy in the better car and the better driver right now. So I just took the last, 1, 2, 3, 4. I took the last 10 races. I took out Atlanta from the restrictor plate. I took the average finish. Ross Chastain is number 1. His average finish over those 9 races is 8.9. And then you look at William Byron. I mean, you got to scroll a long way down. His average finish is 20.3. He's had some really tough luck, has not been running nearly as good as Chastain. Chastain is probably going to be one of the threats to win this race because his car has shown speed. Not really about the Hendricks cars right now outside of Chase Elliott and maybe Kyle Larson. But Byron and Bowman are guys I'm wanting to fade right now. So we've cashed against Ross Chastain last week, so let's cash on him. That's your free bet for this week, Ross Chastain over William Byron. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Don't forget to leave your comments and picks below. I love seeing what everyone's on. Don't forget to go grab the auto racing pack that includes Formula One and NASCAR this week. It's half price for the rest of July on WagerTalk.com. Let's have another profitable weekend, and I will see everyone next week on Life in the Fast Lane.